Hi everyone, this is Father John, and this video is going to be on our first Sunday of Lent. The first thing I want to talk about is we've already had some time. So from Ash Wednesday to now, we can ask, how is our Lent going? So it's okay to look back and say, I might have taken up a little too much stuff, or I might have given away a little too much stuff. So I said I wasn't going to eat anything but bread and water, I'm not going to watch any television, and I gave up smoking. That's too much. So if you're really grumpy by now and you're having really bad thoughts, that might be the reason. And so, tone back. Remember, this is all about helping the life of Christ, the Zoe, if you watched the first video, the life of Christ in us. We want to grow closer to Jesus. We want to be in solidarity with him as he went through his 40 days in the desert. I want to get a little bit more into that. So the reading that we have from the Gospel of Mark, because we're in year B, is really short, sweet, and to the point. That's why I love it. Remember, I was born on the Feast of St. Mark, and so short, sweet, to the point, just so great. The thing is, he doesn't go into much detail. He essentially says, Jesus, there was the baptism, and then right after the baptism, he goes into the desert for 40 days. That's a really important thing to remember for those who are an OCIA. So once we're fully initiated into the church, we go out into the desert. Okay, we go to be strengthened by the Lord. So, and then sooner or later, the devil's going to come and tempt us. All right. So, what is Jesus doing? Why does he go into the desert for 40 days? All right. The number 40 is extremely important throughout the Scriptures. 40 has meaning. 40 has meaning. What it should help us recall is the 40 years of Israel, the 40 years that Israel had to walk through the desert. And some may ask, why did they have to do that? Well, it actually wasn't a part of the original plan. But what God was seeing with Israel is after they went through type of baptism. We always look in the Old Testament for this foreshadowing, for this typology. God is so powerful that just like a good author foreshadows the main event of the book, God is foreshadowing the main event of history, which is Jesus Christ, the church, and the sacraments. After they went through the water that was parted for them, and that's what saved them from the devil, Pharaoh, okay, and it washed away all the evil, washed away all the Egyptians that were chasing them, and they were going into the promised land. There was still a problem. Remember that Moses went up into the mountains to talk to God, and after he was gone for a while, what happened? The people built a golden calf to worship. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems weird at first. It's like, of all things, why would you worship a cow? This is what they learned how to do in Egypt. They had been there for 400 years. And again, this goes between that, this just goes about those things that keep us from God. They had become idolaters. All right. For 400 years, they learned to worship as Egypt learned to worship. And so the first thing they did when they didn't feel God, when they didn't know where God was, is they turned to things that would keep them from God, and they built a golden calf. And so God saw that because of the sin, they needed to go into the desert to get rid of everything that was not of God. Okay. Fast forward, and Jesus is going into the desert not because he necessarily needed it, but to show us the way. We sometimes need to go into the desert to figure out what is not of God so that we can grow closer to God. Okay. 40 days to get rid of those bad habits, or 40 days to establish a new good habit. That's precisely why Jesus does what he does. He is showing us how to imitate him. All right. And like I said, we can't do everything one Lent. This is all about growing closer to Jesus because we love him. So like I said, don't overwhelm yourself. We already have this time period to check out how we're doing. All right. This is for love of God, but just starting to realize, just like the golden calf, what are the golden calves in our life? And what needs to go? Let us allow Jesus to show us so that he can help us with this Lent, and so we can rejoice with him at Easter. Hope you all have a good day. God bless.